So we're off out early to Bolton this morning to see a customer whose driver can't start his truck. I'll explain more when we get there, and hopefully it'll be light by then. We've got a reported tipper, Euro 6 CF DAF, stuck on site. It's been abandoned because it won't start. What warnings have we got on the dash today? As soon as we've got a engine malfunction light, we'll get JALTEST plugged in and see what the DTCs are. This is why it pays to have one of these, because not only can you check the voltages, it also saves you when you bend a pin. Now if this snaps off now, this is peanuts. Peanuts this is, compared to the cost of a lead for one of these VCIs. So I'd much rather be using this every time I use that, or an adapter for the end of the wire for this. So we'll try and straighten this pin out now and try not to break it off. There we go, good as new. Right, let's get this plugged into this OBD and see what is and isn't working. That's everything working that I need to be working. Let's go and check JALTEST. So we'll do our auto VIN identification as usual, obtain VIN automatically. This is a Euro 6 vehicle. Euro 6, connect to that. All I care about is the engine, so we'll connect to engine, PCI, connect. So if we go to fault code reading and read our errors. So we've got injection rail pressure sensor, incorrect or intermittent data, operation failure on the AdBlue, and engine protection function's been brought on 4 times. So we'll check what's going on with the data with this. Pressure sensor or pressure regulation valve, but we do have troubleshooting. So we can follow the smart guide and see what's going on with this. So it wants resistance and volts on the wiring connectors for the pressure control valve, I think. Pressure regulation valve of the injection rail. So that's what's on the end of the fuel rail. So we'll get into that now. What the fuck is that? What is that? That's a monster. So JALTEST wants resistance and volts for this sensor on the end of the fuel rail. So this is our fuel rail on MX-11. Now JALTEST is saying there's an issue with the pressure on the fuel rail. So not the pressure sensor, the pressure control valve, which is this end. Now we need to check for resistance and voltages. Now how are we going to do that? So the most effective way of testing this now is we're going to test the components and then we'll test the wiring together, but we're going to test it in line. And to do that we're going to need a multimeter such as this one from JALTEST, and also I've got these adapters for testing in line on the wiring harness, which you can buy on Truck Tech UK obviously. So we'll get this off, get that in and see what's going on. So we need to match up the terminal size with the wiring. Is this better? Yes. See, if I go for the blue one, they're too small. So we'll go with this black one. I just want to do a pin drag test on these. That feels alright. It's making a line on here. And that one feels alright. So I'd say that the pin drag test is alright, and these are contacting on that pressure control valve there. So we'll go in line with this now, which means the component can function, but we can also test the components at the same time. So we'll go with a red and a black, eh? So if we use the checking data in JALTEST now for the ohms, I don't know why it's asking for volts, because I don't think there is a voltage for the component, because if it's kept closed when it's in operation, you'd think there'd be 0 volts there, as it'd be spring loaded, unless it works backwards, but I don't know. So we'll see what checking data we've got here anyway. So it wants to see a resistance measurement of 1.57 to 1.93. So we've got our resistance value here. We've got a place to put it there. Let's go and see what's going on. I'm just going to check the component to start with. So I'm going to take this out of the wiring harness. So we're just checking the actual component. I'm going to set my JALTEST multimeter now to ohms. And then we can check that then in our red and our black pins on the component. And our resistance is 1.8 ohms. So I'll plug these in and then we can go and see what the voltage is. So now I've got this set to volts. We'll just zero it. Nothing. So if we put red in red, black in black, voltage wise, we've got 4 millivolts. So there's no voltage being applied to the component. Whether that's because the engine's not running, good question. We'll go and put the results in JALTEST. So we'll put 1.8 in here, and here we'll put 0.5. No. Next. Check the fuel return of the injectors. So now we're going to break into the fuel system on the return and see what's going on there. So JALTEST also do a high pressure leak off test kit for DAF. It's for MX13 and this being MX11, but it doesn't matter at the moment because all we need is the return for the fuel rail. So the only things I'm concerned about is a blank for the fuel rail and a pipe for the fuel rail. We'll get this in the fuel rail and see what happens. Put the blank on there. Just nip that up. And then we can put this. So I've got my fuel pressure control valve plugged back in now, but I've also broke into the fuel rail. We've blanked off the return here, and then I've piped this into a measuring container here, and we'll go and run the truck, or try and start and run the truck now, just to see if it returns any fuel. Obviously, if it does return fuel, we know this has failed, and that's our issue. Right, the truck runs now. Now you can see this is just streaming in here. This should be shut, and it isn't. So as you can see, this has now filled up this jug. This shouldn't be returning anything at idle, as it should be closed. So this fuel pressure control valve now needs to be replaced, which unfortunately means we're going to have to take the fuel rail off and the fuel filter module to get to... Oh no, someone's left that bolt out. Brilliant. So we don't have to take this off because someone's left the bolt out, which makes me really happy. So we'll have to just take the fuel rail off, a couple of bolts, a couple of fuel pipes, change this fuel pressure control valve. That's if the customer wants me to change it today. But we'll get the kit off and get it all plugged back in and leave it up to him, basically. Let's get this off here. Let's get that off there. Get this in here. Amazing. That'll do. So we're going to crack off the fuel pressure control valve now, take the rail off, put the new one on, put the rail back on, tighten up the fuel pressure control valve, reset the calibration data on JALTEST. Most probably going to put the pipe back in the return just to show you that we have fixed the truck, and then clear the faults and go from there. Oh, right. Crack this seeing as it's mounted to the rail. Better undo that because it's going to stretch the wire. Oh. Right, that's loose, thank God. Let's get these off. I'll undo this as well. There we go. So all our injector pipes are undone now. We'll just crack off the return. Get this undone. Then we'll get the 13s out of the fuel rail. Let's get these bolts out. If it goes the right way. Who the fuck's put these on? Guess we're going to need something bigger. Oh, that was effortless, wasn't it? Oh no. Can he get on there? Oh. Who puts that there in the way? Me. Right. Let's get these bolts out. 3. We can then just unhook these out the rail, not have to take all the injector tubes out. Although these have seen better days. Not that the customer will want to pay £200 for a bloody injector tube. There we go. And we'll spin this off here. Lovely new part, which is, funnily enough, the second one of these I'm doing this week. So that's a new one. That's our old one. That can go back in there. That can go back in there. And that can go with our other one. There we go. So you need to oil the seal. There we go, that'll do. And this needs to be torqued up to, I think it's 110 or 130 Newton meters. And this also has to face the same way as the old one come off, which was about 7 o'clock in this case, I think. So we'll screw it in, get the rail back on, then torque this up. Right, is that going to go on there? Yeah, it should do. So we'll be able to torque it, turn this later. Let's get this on. I think we're better off brake cleaning some of these out first because they look horrific. Absolutely horrific, this fuel system. Right, let's flick all these back in here. Rails in position. I'll just run these up finger tight because I'll need it loose to get the other bolts in to hold the fuel rail in position. So just get these started. Let's try and get some of these retaining bolts back in this fuel rail. You're going to go in there. Yep. Next. You're going to go in there. Yep. Oh, we're onto a flyer here. Can we get you in there? Just tight enough. Retaining bolts are in and tight. Now we'll just do the fuel pipes. Plug our fuel rail pressure sensor in and our fuel pressure control valve. Right, let's torque this. Let's go find a torque wrench. Right, torque wrench set. Let's see if we can get this to torque. With the fuel pressure control valve now torqued up and plugged in, I'm going to fit the return line here and calibrate the valve. We'll then do a measurement again and hopefully there should be nothing coming out of it. Won't be needing these now. Yes, it's happy. Right, next. So if we jump onto JALTEST, auto VIN identification. Don't care about that. All we want is an engine, which is PCI. Let's get into this. Into calibration. Yes, it's not running. Yes, I want you to reset the data. Tidy. So we'll go and cycle the ignition now. Turn this back on. Let's go clear the fault codes. So we've cycled our ignition now. We'll just go into fault codes and clear all the old fault codes out of the vehicle. No errors stored in the memory. Right. First of all, we'll put our return pipe on from the JALTEST high pressure fuel return test kit, which is one blank and one return pipe. So we'll blank the return for the truck here. And then we'll fit our return pipe here. We've had the fuel system open to the elements, so we might need to get some pressure in the rail because we've added air to the system. So there might be a fuel related DTC in JALTEST later, but it will be for fuel pressure slow rising rate or something along that description, but we'll see what happens now. Have we got a return? Nothing, dry as a bone. That's what we wanted. Nothing at all. So I've had this running for about 5 minutes now. Still nothing coming out of it. Engine's coming up to temperature. It's safe to say we can now return this back to how it was from the factory and remove the leak off pipe. Let's knock this off now. Yes, I know the cab's over. Let's take our return pipe off. Oh. Break into the fuel system. Ah, now it's raining. Lovely. I'm glad I've just finished this job. Problem is, I've got another one to go to. Get this done up and get from here. Right, that's that. That's that. That's a pipe. And oh, every day, throw it on the floor. Let's get this in here. We'll probably end up getting this out again. Right, let's see what DTCs are in this. So we'll just reconnect back to the truck because I've had the ignition off to turn the truck off obviously when it was running. Now, fault code reading, fuel pressure, are we going to have this slow rate rising? Very slow rising, there you go, so that's inactive now. So we'll delete this DTC. Off for 15. Oh, brush. Yeah, that ain't gonna make much difference, is it? Yeah, that's 15 seconds. That's what she said. Let's turn this on. How are we looking now? Thank you very much. And that's that. We'll create a report just in case we have any faults in the future. Yes, I want to save it. Yes, I think it's amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you, JALTEST, and thank you, Eclipse. This truck's now back on the road. Let's pull the VCI. Let's get this out of here.
Well, it's been a long day but an interesting one. Bit of electrical diagnostics, bit of mechanical diagnostics, but it just goes to show how good JALTEST smart guides are at assisting a technician in fault diagnostics. If you're after tools for technical diagnostics, I suggest you check out JALTEST range on Eclipse Diagnostics website. If you want more fuel related videos, I've got them here. And as always, if you thought this video was a good one, give it a like, subscribe if you want more videos from me, and I'll catch you in the next one.